All right, fashion fans, buckle up, because today's deep dive isn't about what you see on the runway.
Yep.
It's about what goes on behind the scenes
Yeah.
to make all those clothes fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about becoming a clothing product grader, the unsung heroes of the fashion world.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. It's a fascinating blend of creativity and technical precision, you know?
Right.
You're basically taking a designer's vision and you're translating it into a garment that can be produced like in a whole range of sizes.
Absolutely. And we've got a fantastic stack of resources to unpack today,
Yes.
including a career guide, a bunch of interview tips, and even some cool insights into how AI can help you prep for all
It's
this.
amazing.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's just break down what this job actually entails.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I had this image of someone surrounded by, like, fabric swatches, sipping lattes,
Right. Uh-huh.
but it seems like there's a lot more to it.
Well, you're not wrong about the fabric swatches.
Okay, good.
But you've also got math, pattern adjustments, a deep understanding of how different materials behave.
Wow.
It's a lot. Think of it like this, right? The designer creates this masterpiece.
Okay.
And clothing product grader, they're the ones who create the blueprint.
Oh, I see.
That makes that masterpiece reproducible.
That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
So let's say someone is feeling super inspired.
Yep.
And they want to apply for one of these clothing product grader gigs.
Yeah.
What's that interview process like? How can they prepare for those make or break questions?
Well, the good news is you've provided us with some common interview questions.
Yes.
And these are great examples of what you might actually encounter in a real interview.
Perfect. So let's jump right in with a question that often trips people up, especially if they're new to the field. Can you tell us about your previous experience in grading clothing products? Now, what if you're thinking, well, I've never actually been a clothing product grader before.
Right.
What do you do?
Don't panic. This is where you need to think about your transferable skills.
Okay, I like that.
So have you ever, altered your own clothes? Maybe you've tackled a sewing project or two.
Mm-hmm.
Those experiences, those demonstrate an understanding of garment construction.
Right.
And an eye for detail.
Yeah,
And those are crucial in this role.
that's such a good point. So instead of just saying, nope, never done that, you can connect the dots for the interviewer. For example, you could say something like, while I haven't worked as a grader professionally, I've always been passionate about creating and adapting clothes. I once transformed this vintage dress that was like 2 sizes too big,
Oh, wow.
which taught me a lot about, and this is where you'd slide in that impressive detail.
Yes.
That shows you've got the skill.
Exactly. You could say something like the importance of maintaining the original design's integrity while adjusting for a different body type. That kind of answer, it demonstrates that you understand the core principles of grading,
Right.
even if you don't have direct industry experience.
It's all about speaking their language, showcasing your passion. Okay, that was a great warm-up. Now I'm curious, how does RoleCatcher, that AI tool we mentioned,
Yes.
how does that come into play when prepping for a question like this?
That's a great question. So RoleCatcher can be incredibly helpful here.
Okay.
It can analyze the specific job description
Uh-huh.
and then identify the keywords and skills that the employer is looking for.
Nice.
So in this case, it might highlight phrases like garment construction, attention to detail, or pattern adjustment. And then it can help you tailor your response to emphasize those specific areas, even like suggesting ways to rephrase your answer to better align with the job requirements.
Oh, that's like having a secret weapon.
It's true.
It takes the guesswork out of figuring out what the hiring manager wants to hear. Okay, let's move on to another question I'm sure comes up a lot. How do you approach grading clothing products for quality control?
This is your chance to shine as a meticulous and process-oriented individual. You want to walk them through your system for ensuring accuracy and consistency.
So instead of just saying, I'm really careful, what are some specifics you could highlight?
You could say something like, my quality control process starts with meticulously checking the measurements of the original sample garment against the size chart, ensuring absolute accuracy.
Love it.
I then use industry-standard software, like Gerber AccuMark, to digitally create the patterns for different sizes, taking into account the specific properties of the fabric.
Okay, now we're talking. You're not just telling them you're careful.
No.
You're showing them you have a system. You're bringing in the technical terms and demonstrating your knowledge of industry tools.
Exactly. And you can further emphasize your meticulous approach by mentioning how you double-check your work. You might even share a brief anecdote about a time you caught a potential error before it went any further. Employers love to see that you can save the day with your attention to detail.
That's brilliant. Okay, this is already super helpful. But we've got more interview questions to conquer, so let's keep this deep dive rolling.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about a question that really gets to the heart of what it means to be a clothing product grader.
Okay.
How do you stay up to date with the latest grading standards and trends in the industry?
Okay, so this isn't about, like, just following fashion bloggers on Instagram. Right?
No, not at all.
We're talking about the technical side of the industry.
Exactly. This is where you showcase your commitment to continuous learning.
Right.
You could mention any industry publications you follow,
Oh, okay.
like Women's Wear Daily or a apparel magazine.
Okay.
Have you attended any workshops or seminars on like new grading techniques? Even participating in those online forums where industry professionals share knowledge shows you're engaged and eager to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like any field. You've got to have your finger on the pulse of what's new and innovative.
For sure.
Now, I'm wondering, could RoleCatcher be helpful in identifying those key industry resources?
Absolutely. RoleCatcher's AI is constantly scanning and analyzing industry data,
Yeah.
So it could easily point you to relevant publications, professional organizations, even like online courses
Wow.
that align with the specific skills that are mentioned in that job description.
Okay.
It's like having a personalized research assistant.
That's amazing. Okay, next question. And this one seems like it requires a bit of storytelling.
Okay.
Can you describe a time when you had to deal with a tricky issue related to grading clothing products?
Yes. The classic behavioral interview question.
Right.
They want to see how you handle challenges and apply your skills in those real-world situations.
Sure.
So have a few stories in your back pocket that showcase your problem-solving abilities, your attention to detail.
Yeah.
Maybe even a time you had to, adapt to a last-minute change.
So maybe a time you spotted an error in a pattern that would have, thrown off the entire fit of a garment.
Yes.
Or maybe a time you had to get creative with grading because of an unusual fabric.
Exactly. The key is to structure your response in a way that's clear and concise. A really helpful framework is the STAR method. Situation, task, action, and result.
Okay, break that down for us. How could you use the STAR method to answer this question effectively?
Okay, so let's say you were working on this complex pattern with multiple design elements.
Okay.
You could say, I was tasked with grading a new dress design that featured intricate pleating and a curved hemline. This was a challenging task because, and here you would outline the specific issue, the pleats were causing the fabric to pull in an unexpected way when graded to larger sizes.
Okay, so you've set the scene. You've highlighted the challenge. Now for the action part, what did you do to solve this problem?
Right. You would continue with something like, to address this, I first conducted several test fittings using different fabric samples to see how the pleats behaved when the garment was worn.
Okay.
Based on my observations, I made subtle adjustments to the angle and depth of the pleats during the grading process to ensure they draped correctly across all sizes.
That's great. You identified the problem, took initiative, and found a solution. Now what about the result?
This is where you highlight that positive outcome.
Okay, yeah.
You could say, by making these adjustments, I was able to create a grading pattern that maintained the designer's original vision while ensuring a flattering and comfortable fit for all sizes.
Perfect. You've shown that you can handle challenges, think critically, and find creative solutions. And I'm willing to bet that RoleCatcher could help fine-tune this answer even further.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher can analyze your response and suggest ways to make it even stronger.
Okay.
It might identify areas where you could add more specific details or suggest industry-specific terminology to demonstrate your expertise. It's like having an interview coach by your side, helping you craft that perfect response.
That's incredible.
Okay.
What's the next interview hurdle we need to help our listeners clear?
Let's talk about a question that often trips people up. How do you ensure that your grading assessments are consistent and accurate, even when grading large quantities of clothing products?
Right. This is about working under pressure and maintaining those sky-high standards, even when you're on a tight deadline.
Right, because in the fashion world, deadlines are always looming. So how do you convey that you're not only detail-oriented, but also efficient and reliable?
You want to emphasize your systematic approach.
Okay.
You could say something like, I have a multi-step process for ensuring accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
After I complete the initial grading, I double-check all measurements using a digital ruler for ultimate precision.
Nice.
I also keep detailed records of all grading decisions for each garment, noting any unique challenges or adjustments.
So you're not just relying on memory or like eyeballing it, you've got a system in place.
Yeah.
That definitely screams reliable to a potential employer.
Exactly. And to further emphasize your commitment to consistency,
Yeah.
you could add something like, I believe that maintaining a clean and organized workspace is crucial for accuracy.
Sure.
I have a dedicated area where I can focus solely on the task at hand, minimizing distractions and ensuring that every detail is accounted for. That paints a great picture of someone who's organized, detail-oriented, and takes pride in their work. Now, how could RoleCatcher help someone refine this type of answer?
RoleCatcher could analyze the job description and highlight any specific software or tools mentioned.
Okay.
For example, if the description mentions a specific CAD program used for pattern making,
Right.
RoleCatcher would flag that,
Okay.
prompting you to incorporate that software into your response.
Oh, I see what you mean.
This demonstrates that you're familiar with their specific workflow and tools.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It's all about tailoring your answers to the specific company and role.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident with every question we tackle. What else do we have on the interview prep agenda?
Let's dive into a question that truly tests your expertise, okay? Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision related to grading clothing products?
Ooh, well,
What was the situation and how did you handle it? This one's all about your judgment, problem-solving skills, and your ability to balance those competing priorities.
this sounds like it could get juicy. What kind of scenarios would demonstrate those skills effectively?
Think about a time when you had to weigh different factors.
Okay.
Maybe there was a conflict between the design aesthetic and the technical limitations of grading for certain sizes. Or perhaps you had to advocate for adjustments to a pattern
Right.
to ensure a proper fit, even if it meant pushing back against a tight deadline.
So it's about finding that balance between staying true to the design vision
Yes.
and ensuring that the garment is, wearable and flattering
Yes.
across a range of body types.
Exactly. You're demonstrating that you understand the bigger picture
Right.
and that you can make those tough calls. For instance, you could say, in a previous project, I was grading a top with a very intricate neckline.
Okay.
When I adjusted the pattern for larger sizes, I noticed that the neckline lost its shape and wouldn't drape correctly.
Okay, so you've identified a problem that could have, slipped through the cracks
Exactly.
and become a major issue down the line. What did you do next?
I presented my concerns to the designer, along with potential solutions.
Good.
I suggested slightly modifying the angle of the neckline in the larger sizes to maintain its intended look and drape.
That shows initiative and a willingness to collaborate.
Yes.
Did the designer welcome your suggestions?
The designer appreciated my attention to detail and agreed to the adjustments. It was a valuable learning experience, highlighting the importance of clear communication and finding creative solutions that balance design integrity with fit and wearability.
That's a fantastic example. You navigated a tricky situation with grace and expertise.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on, I'm curious. How would RoleCatcher help someone prepare for this type of question?
RoleCatcher can analyze thousands of interview questions, including behavioral questions like this one.
Nice.
It would recognize this question as an opportunity to showcase problem-solving and decision-making skills.
Okay.
It might even provide you with examples of similar situations and how other candidates have successfully navigated them.
So it's like having this database of, interview wisdom at your fingertips. That's amazing.
Okay, ready for our next challenge?
Absolutely. This one is a bit more direct, but still offers a chance to really shine. How do you ensure that you are meeting the needs of both the company and the customer when grading clothing products?
This is interesting because you're essentially the bridge between the designer, the production team, and the end customer, right?
Yeah, right.
You have to keep everyone happy.
Precisely. You want to express your understanding that a successful garment is not just, well-designed. It's also well-made, and it fits the customer's expectations.
So how do you convey that understanding effectively?
You could say something like, I always keep the end customer in mind throughout the entire grading process, ensuring that the fit is flattering and comfortable across all sizes.
Right.
At the same time, I understand the importance of adhering to the company's quality standards and production capabilities.
That's a great way to demonstrate that you're thinking about the entire life cycle of the garment, right?
You're not just focused on the technical aspects of grading. You're thinking about the wearer
Yes.
and the company's bottom line.
Exactly. And to really drive that point home,
Yes.
you could add an example. You could say something like, for example, I always pay close attention to seam allowances and fabric stretch,
Okay.
ensuring that the garment can be sewn efficiently and consistently while also allowing for a comfortable fit.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
You're showing that you understand the nuances of both design and production. Now, before we wrap up our interview prep, I'm wondering, are there any, last-minute tips you have for using RoleCatcher effectively?
Absolutely. One of the most valuable features of RoleCatcher is its ability to provide real-time feedback on your answers.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to use it throughout your preparation process. Type in your responses, see what suggestions it offers, and refine your answers until you feel confident and prepared.
That's such a great point. It's like having a personal interview coach available 24/7. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the world of clothing product grading, from the technical skills to the interview process, and even how AI can give you that extra edge.
It's been a pleasure diving into this fascinating field with you.
Likewise. And to everyone listening, we hope you feel empowered and prepared to land that dream job in the exciting world of fashion. Remember, you've got the skills, you've got the knowledge, and now with tools like RoleCatcher, you've got the power to ace that interview.